Whenever we talk about leadership, people think about systems, structures, or even institutions. But today, the conversation is completely different. We're looking at self leadership. So I'm simply talking about you leading yourself. This means that you as a leader to yourself. Hello, everybody. My name is Sukeji Modi, and welcome to Made to Lead podcast, a special podcast that is curated for you to remind you that you have the power to lead in all your areas of influence, and to start with today, specifically yourself. So we're talking about how you can lead yourself. So normally, before you lead an institution, before you lead a group of people, or before you lead a nation, or even before you lead a continent, it all goes back to the foundation. And today, we're going back to that foundation, which is leading yourself. In most cases, people associate leadership with cars, property, an office, a rank, to an extent whereby some people, if you don't call them with their title at work, they will not be happy with you. For example, they want to be called a doctor. Call me a doctor. Call me an engineer. Call me this. Why? Because normally leadership gives people a lot of prestigious positions. Much as that is good, today my conversation takes a completely different angle, and I'm taking you back to the very foundations of what is right, what is expedient, and what is excellent, which is you as a person. First and foremost, I remember, I think 2 years ago, I received a very interesting question, and I happen that this question continues to repeat itself every day. I see young people asking me, "Hi Sukeji, how did you start? What did you do? What do I need to do? What should I do? What should I not do?" Much as all these questions are good, the truth is that you will never start on a specific leadership position. You'll always start with simple things. So, for example, let me actually answer that question. Number one, you will see a lot of learning opportunities, free learning opportunities, like a mentorship in your school or mentorship in your place of work. This means that somebody who has gone ahead of you, somebody who has done it, there is always a template. You know, there is always a leader somewhere who has already attained it. So whenever you meet them, there is some form of admiration that comes from your heart. There is a way you see them, you be like, I think even me, I want to reach that level. I want to attain these credentials. I also want to finish school one day. It reminds me when I was actually in primary school and we see high schoolers come. Ha! We always felt like, no, 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 we are tired of this primal life. We want to enter secondary school. And when we go to secondary school, personally, when I go to secondary school, when I see university people, I'm like, wow, I want to get to university. I want to get done. So, what am I saying? Desire in your heart is always planted by a specific model or somebody that you see. So, when we talk about self leadership, we're talking about what is it that you personally admire as a person and you desire to get it. And normally, these are the things that you actually need to stand up, rise, make up a decision to fully get it so you don't get it on a silver plate. Secondly, is that normally there will be volunteering opportunities. As a young leader who's growing up, you will never get a job vacancy or a very big position, but you will get volunteering opportunities. Now, volunteering is very good because number one, it gives you access. It gives you access to organizations, it gives you access to people, it gives you access to a lot of opportunities. So you're not entering because you're really competent, but you're entering because you are willing. It's a different form of competence. We have a lot of people in the outside world today who are just not willing to do a lot of things. So once you choose to volunteer or once you choose to do something without expecting a pay in return, it simply means that there is an internal belief that you have as a person, and you fully have the courage to work, to embrace, to get things done. And then after volunteering, trust me, once you volunteer, you will learn. When you volunteer, you will learn from people, you will interact with people, you'll even get experience, you will get the joy to feel valuable or significant. So, to all the young people outside there who are listening to me, I just want to remind you something. Once you get the opportunity to volunteer for something that you desire or anything that you're passionate about, go ahead for it. That's why most universities, when you're actually about to attain your when you're actually about to attain maybe your degree or your master's or your even PhD at some point, you're given the opportunity to go for a practicum. A practicum is an opportunity to put your knowledge into practice normally without pay, you know. So whenever it comes to knowledge, when it comes to leadership, it is not always about money. This is one thing that you should know. Money will come, but later at the end, not literally at the beginning. So, as a young person, if you're outside there, number one, make sure that you are exposed at least to what you think you want, or you're exposed to what you think looks like what you want. Secondly, do well to volunteer. Volunteering helps many times, and many great people that I have seen, their stories always started with volunteering. Somebody will tell you, oh, I was a cameraman in a church, I just volunteered. Oh, I'm a creative artist, I volunteered to go and recite a poem during an event. Even most of the big artists today, they sang in schools, they sang for free in some places. So what am I saying? Do not be afraid of volunteering, because when you volunteer, it actually leave a footprint. Sometimes it can actually be the door that you need to get into your real opportunity that you're looking for. Normally in the job market, most people complain about our generation. They say, oh, this generation, these Gen Zs don't listen, they don't want to volunteer, they don't want to do this and this and that. But the really interesting thing is that Gen Zs are actually willing, but in most time, they just need some form of structures that suits them or suits us as young people. So much as all these expectations exist, we need to embrace the reality of workspaces, the reality of opportunities that continues to help us every day. Yes. So back to self-leadership. The reality is that it is almost impossible, and it is very difficult for you to lead people, to lead groups, if you have not mastered the art of leading yourself. Yes, you have heard me right. You really need to lead yourself. That's why you can notice that a leader who is leading others publicly but is not leading himself, there will always be gaps. You will notice that there are gaps when it comes maybe to integrity, when it comes to other factors in his own life. That's why this episode reminds you, number one, that you have power. Power to do what? Power to transform yourself, power to empower yourself, power to make up your mind, to even be valuable. This message goes out. If you're listening to this episode and maybe you don't come from a very advantaged family, you're not a very rich person, you're not a rich child, you were not born with advantage on your hands. A reality for 80% of the African population, because most African youth are not born into privilege, they actually build into it. And that is the authenticity of our story, that we were born almost with nothing on our hands, but then we grow up and we build things with all that we have experienced, all that we have seen, and all that we have learned. So what am I saying? I am simply saying that if you're here listening to this podcast and you almost feel right now that you have nothing on your hands, you have no money, you don't have a name. Some people have names that open doors for them. When they go and say that I'm so and so's child, they are given the opportunity. But maybe you're here and you don't have that opportunity, you don't have that luxury. Let me give you a message of comfort. You have not lost it all. You still have the power to lead yourself in the right direction. Because once you just master this power, you're going to create a lot of changes that will even make you get amazed in your own self. Personally, I can relate. The power of influencing myself has really worked out for me so many times. It has shaped so many. I can actually pinpoint to you that I did this because of this, I did this because of that. But it all started with a personal decision, personal efforts, and recognizing the power that you have as a young person to create the change. So when we talk about self-leadership, what are we talking about? We're talking about skills that you need to make sure that you actually thrive, or you put your feet on the ground to fulfill the things that you should do. Secondly, we're talking about passion. Passion is a currency. And then thirdly, last but not least, we're talking about having a dream. Normally, I know we are so used of hearing the word dream. You sleep and you'll be like, I have a dream. And that's why this reminds me of a quote I have had from an amazing friend. And then he says that a dream is not something that you see when you sleep. A dream is something that you see and you cannot sleep. This means that you need to have a dream. As a young person, you need to have a video, a vision in your mind of what you want to do. And because of that, you're going to go to school, you're going to wake up, you're going to work, you're going to seek for answers, you're going to use your phone digitally, find solutions. For example, mentally, if you're thinking of becoming a speaker or starting a podcast like what I have, you have, number one, the first thing is that you already have the image in your mind, which is good. Now, having the image is not enough. Secondly, after having the image, now you think of, okay, What should I do? Who can help me? Where can I get a camera? Where can I get a video? You see, it's almost impossible to even start a podcast without having a vision in your mind. So basically, what am I saying? This podcast that you see is a manifestation of a vision that I had in my mind. So as a young person, you have a dream. Having the ability and the power to dream is very powerful. In fact, in psychology, there is a name for it. There is a way we define it. We call it self-actualization, meaning you actually have the power to become the highest and the best version of yourself on a daily basis. That's why I am really resounding the news and the amazing power that you hold as a person in leading yourself. Okay, so when we talk about passion as well, as a person, as a young person, even as an older person, if you're hearing me, you need to be passionate about something. Don't allow yourself to not be passionate about anything. Don't give yourself the luxury to just exist. No, exist with a passion. Some of you can be passionate about education, you can be passionate about music, you're passionate about rap, you're passionate about cooking, and that means you might later advance to become a chef. You're passionate about hairdressing, you're passionate about politics, you're passionate about climate change. You should literally be passionate about something. When you are passionate about something, there is a way it just guides you. There is a way it makes you to start attracting the things that you're passionate about, or you start seeing more of the opportunities about the things that you're passionate about. So, what am I saying? One of the powers that you should never lose as a young person, no matter how stressed you are, no matter how depressed you are, no matter how you feel like you come from a country that does not give you the opportunities you need, is the power of a passion. You need to be passionate about something. Now, if you ask me today, hi Sukeji, what are you passionate about? I will tell you, I'm passionate about ABC, because passion keeps you moving, passion gives you hope. Passion helps you to see opportunities where some people are not seeing an opportunity at all. So please don't lose the power to have a passion. Your passion is very, very, very important. It will rescue you the days whereby you get discouraged about your future. It will rescue you the days where you feel like nothing is making sense. Once you're passionate about it, let me give you an example of Michael Jackson. Let me tell you something. Once you read his story or when you watch his movie, you will notice that he was passionate about music. In his happy times, he was passionate. In his sad times, he was passionate. In his challenging times, he was very, very, very passionate. So, passion is one of the things that keeps you moving even when you get discouraged. And I can literally tell you that it has worked for so many great people in the world that we live in today. So do not lose your passion. Ensure that you have a dream. Having this dream, as young people, by the way, let me tell you something. If you're a Gen Z and you're watching me, we are gifted. We are gifted, we are advantaged. In fact, as a Gen Z, you have 10 times more opportunity to make it in life than a millennial, because you have a lot of advantages. You have AI, you have a lot of technical assistance. Our educational system is different. You have a voice. You actually even now have the power to say that I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this course. I want to do the other course. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. Now, the fact that we now have the liberty to even choose, the liberty to even focus, the liberty to go to school and study well. Long time ago, the millennials will tell you we used to study with a candle. So when we blow it off, you don't study anymore. We're living in an era whereby we don't actually struggle about electricity. The average young person does not even know what it means to go to school without shoes, because almost everybody has shoes. This means that we are advantaged as young people. We should be writers, we should be podcasters, we should be activists, we should be pillars of change. We should go ahead and innovate things. I always get so excited when I see a young person who uh, has made a beautiful innovation, a young person who has a company, a young person who has an organization. I tell you, people are doing amazing things outside here. That's why you really need to master yourself. Self mastery is important. Now, let me take you back to the three segments of self mastery. When we talk about self mastery, number one, we're talking about your skills. Some of you here, as you're listening to me, you're a skilled photographer, you're a skilled editor, you might even be a speaker like me, or you might be a writer. You write, you enjoy writing, or you like doing poetry. All this skill is good, but then go ahead, assess your skill. For example, if I am a rapper, what can I do to make my rapping more beautiful, to make it more marketable, to make sure that I get better skills? Nowadays, there are many other skills that we need to learn to make sure that we survive in the job market, to make sure that you even stay relevant in an AI age that we're entering so soon. So please make sure that you get your skills. And let me tell you something. When we talk about self mastery or leading yourself, I talk about skills because nobody will force you to learn or to go to school. In this age, nobody will do that. That means you actually need to wake up with a purpose, go to school, go to the university. Even if there is university riot, even if sometimes they close the university, no, you don't give up because you know at the end of it, last, you really want to finish up your university. Okay? Nobody will come and force you to pay for a course. These days, I see webinars for AI. You need to learn. You go there, they teach you how to use this AI. There are people who are making millions from AI. To make things more interesting, global organizations like Yali, Aspire programs, they continue giving free training, free leadership training. Now tell me why in 2026 you don't even have a single certificate of leadership. This means you need to lead yourself better. Go out for these opportunities. Apply for these opportunities. Some of you are afraid. Apply for conferences online or even in person. Apply for these things because let me tell you, if you can even apply for one opportunity, it just means that you have laid yourself well. Make sure that you lead yourself. Another significant skill that you should definitely have as a leader to help you lead yourself better is decision making. So, what is decision making? Everybody that is listening to this podcast now, I know you have ever made a decision. That means, for example, maybe you went to a restaurant, you were served beans, but you wanted chapati. So you told them, I need chapati, I don't want beans. Or maybe they brought rice and you don't want rice. Maybe you need ugali, you need posho. You want them, no, I want posho, I don't want rice. What do I mean? Decision making is a significant tool. And as a young leader, it will save you every day. Because as you continue to advance, you will have a lot of things, a lot of circumstances in your life that you simply need to make decisions. And normally, decisions come with consequences. That's why, as a young person, having a dream is not enough. You also need to sharpen your decision making skill. This simply means you look at something, an opportunity offered to you, and you know it will not help you, you know it will land you into something further that you don't want, you can just give it a no. So, one of the powers you have as a person is your yes and your no. The authenticity to actually go ahead and give consent. That's why it is actually almost impossible for neocolonialism to continue in Africa. This is because Africans now have a voice. We can rise up and say, no, we don't want this. We don't want that. Governments nowadays are being faced. People strike because they know, they have learned, they have recognized that they have the power. What do I mean? If you ever feel so discouraged about your future, I want to remind you that it is not all lost and gone. You still have the power to shape it because you are still alive. As long as you are alive, you still have self power, the kind of power that can influence who you are. One thing that I don't like ignoring in all my episodes is the fact that as Africans or even globally as young people, we currently exist in very trying times whereby we have government crises, we have ongoing wars, cold wars, we have a lot of fluctuations in prices. Talk about fuel, talk about electricity. That means an average student is literally struggling to even pay for the university fees. Things are hard. Times are currently hard. But now, much as the government has the power to control some things, economic sector can control some specific things. The only government that can control your outcome is yourself. So that anytime you control, the government is bad, economy is bad, one thing that you should never forget is the fact that you as a person, you have the power to shape who Ben will become, who Pony will become, or who Edward will become. All right. So what am I saying? I'm simply resounding it back to you again and again and again that even when your family is falling apart, as a person, you can actually make up your mind to just be different. Africa needs a lot when it comes to decision making skills because even the fact that we were colonized in the past does not mean that we'll be colonized again. In fact, one thing that I know is a generation of young Africans who are saying no to anything that does not make sense or that is not standing for the good of Africa. So this means that it is already an excellent thing that is happening. So you have the power. You have the power to make choices for yourself. You have the power to choose to go to school. You have the power to wake up today and not sleep on your bed the whole day. You have the power to take a book, you make up your mind, you make a decision. You take a book, you read your book. You know, you have the power to register for a course. You have the power to not drop out from school. You have the power to encourage yourself, even when people talk down on you. In fact, I am usually amazed. 3 weeks back, I had the opportunity to talk to teen mothers in the slums, and I loved how most of them picked up themselves. This is what life looks like sometimes. You have to actually go back to your power, pick up yourself, and you continue from exactly where you have fallen. It's a very significant skill that every leader needs to have. And I hope as you listen to this episode, you learn it. You learn to make decisions that work out for you. One thing that you should also not forget is the fact that you exist as a person before existing as a community. If you have a friend, if you have a group of friends that you know are doing A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, that you know as for you, you don't want to do it. Stop feeling the comfort of friendship. You have to be bold enough. Break away from anything that you know no longer serves you today because you have the power to choose your friends. Normally, I tell all my colleagues, I tell all my friends that friendship literally influences 80% of your life. Let me tell you something. Once you have a hardworking friend, you will not struggle to work hard because the fact that you see them every day will just motivate you to actually work hard. When you have a lazy friend, you don't need to actually learn laziness anywhere. Automatically, you can actually become lazy. So when you choose your friends, you're simply choosing how you want to be. That's why they always tell you, birds of the same feathers, they flock together. Another significant skill that you need in your self leadership or in your self mastery is emotional intelligence. Number one, as a leader, I want you to recognize that you are spirit, soul, and body. This means that you have emotions. This means you can feel happy, you can feel sad, you can feel exhausted, you can feel disturbed, you can feel irritated. You can actually feel all these emotions, and it is very human. Okay, but now what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence means you have actually learned how to regulate, how to recognize, and how to respond to very challenging situations. So these days in the job market, employers are looking for people who have emotional intelligence. That's why they ask you, can you work under pressure? How do you handle anger? How do you do 1, 2, 3? So actually, as a person, currently in this age, if you're outside there and you tell people, me, I have anger issues, me, I'm always angry, me, when I get angry, nobody can control me. No, you need to change that. You don't have to continue saying that. In fact, in this age, we are reparenting ourselves, we are retraining ourselves, because even coming from a broken family is no longer an excuse, because you have the opportunity to reparent yourself. You have the opportunity to listen to podcasts. You have the opportunity to listen to teachers, listen to mentors, listen to men and women of excellence, people who have gone ahead of you, people who have made it. And you notice that whenever you do that, whenever you listen to them, it just makes you feel better. It makes you feel happy. So, what am I saying? Every human being, even in the world of psychology, can recognize the emotions. So, the first thing in emotional intelligence is number one, you recognize the emotions. It's the question of how do you feel? You can be like, I feel happy, I feel tired, I feel irritated. Once you understand or once you recognize how you feel, the second question is, how does how I feel make me react? So if you notice that whenever you're angry, you hit someone, that means that you have already recognized that you can actually become violent. Now you think about the consequence of that action. You know, it will not be positive, it will be negative. Then that is how you will absolutely not do it. So emotional intelligence invites you to the place of assessing your emotions before it actually dictates how you react or how you treat another person. It is emotional intelligence that will make you not shout back at somebody who has actually shouted back at you. It is emotional intelligence that will make you not reply some messages. It is emotional intelligence that will make you not to call out some people online. It is emotional intelligence that will make you not to come online and insult some people or take battles online. It is emotional intelligence that will make you accept some separations. It is emotional intelligence that will make you accept some breakups. As young people, some people actually, to make matters worse, statistics continues to remind us that young people commit suicide because of love, because of relationships. It is very sad, and I can only imagine how that is. But in most cases, one of the things about self leadership is you need to teach yourself how to handle rejection. You need to teach yourself how to process all those emotions together. All right. So another aspect that you should also not forget at all is self-awareness. Self-leadership is almost impossible without self-awareness. Self-awareness means knowing yourself. I am always astonished when I meet leaders who don't know themselves. You're outside here, you're a leader, you own a company, or you have a shop, you're leading, you're doing good things, but you don't know yourself. What do I mean? You don't know your temperament. You don't know, some of you even don't know your height. You don't know your body weight. You don't know, you're not even aware of a lot of major things about your body. You're not aware of the state of your country. You're not aware of the state of your continent. Because let me tell you, there are some things only by awareness it will motivate you to act. It will motivate you to do better. It will motivate you to be serious about some things. For example, if you're an African and you're really aware about African history, you have no excuse about being uncomfortable, not fighting for Africa or not doing something good for Africa. When I say fighting for Africa, I don't mean picking guns. No, I mean doing something excellent that you know will help other Africans. I know a couple of people who have started initiatives simply because they are just Pan Africanists. I know people who have done initiatives because they are Rastafarians. I know people who have done initiatives because they are Christians. So, what do I mean? Self awareness will help you recognize a problem in the society and think about how to provide a solution. That's why here at Made to Lead podcast, I love to say that you're a solution provider. This means that when you step into a community where children don't go to school because you're a solution provider, you will definitely think of what to do. You will definitely help. You will come up with initiatives that will help people. So, in a nutshell, self leadership is important. You need to control, you need to recognize how you feel, you need to check out on your decision making skills, you need to be very intentional about standing out, be very intentional about your mindset, and be very intentional about everything that you do. So you can never lead a company when you don't lead yourself, and you can never lead people when you have not or have never led the person that you are. Thank you.